G'day guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Saturday, November 2nd, 2024. And I know I say it nearly every day. Well, it's probably every second or third day, isn't it? What a absolutely beautiful day here in the Macedon Ranges. Yesterday was cool and overcast, but today is just not a cloud in the sky. Nice and warm and just a beautiful, beautiful day. So I want to get into the video today. Look, it's just a well, it's not a really relevant thing, but in regards to news and stuff. But I watched a Ringside Seat with Tassie yesterday, the podcast. If you haven't seen it, it's my good mate Tassie Brown. He's got the YouTube channel, Ringside Seat with Tassie. He does podcasts and all that sort of stuff on there, and does a really good job. He's had some really big names on there. And yesterday, or I think it was the day before, it might have been released, he had Danny Green, and of course one of Australia's greatest boxers, or and one of the most loved Australian boxers of all time. And it was good to see him on there, and it was actually good to get a bit of a shout out from Danny. I haven't spoken to him for quite some time, and really good to see him doing well. But he looks pretty good for a guy in his 50s, I'll say. But it was really good to hear him just talking about the good old days. You know, I mean, we say the good old days for us anyway. But you know, the interview with Tassie goes for about 2 hours, so it's a bit of a watch. But just to hear back, for me, it was more so the beginning of his career, because that's when I knew Danny. Well, I think we all know the professional career that he had, and that's probably when most people followed him. But I first met Danny in 1998. Now, I had crossed paths with him before, but I must admit I didn't really take much notice of Danny. He was the first nationals he went to was in '96 in Melbourne. I just got back from the Olympics then, and was looking to get things back on track after a really, really disappointing campaign at the Olympics, and wanted to come back and win that Australian title in of course my home state of Victoria. And he was there in his first national championships. He actually lost to a really good fighter from Victoria, actually, Mirovic. I think that's what it was. Robert Mirovic, I think his name was, how you pronounce it. But I knew him well, went away with him obviously a lot of time, especially with the Nationals, being a fellow Victorian, and a really good fighter. My brother actually fought him a couple of times as well. Robert Mirovic, trained by a really great guy in Ray Webb, and Danny actually lost to him at the Nationals. And then the next year in '97, Danny won his first national title there as well, and I think he got fighter of the tournament. And again, I must say, I don't really remember too much about Danny being there, and it sort of happens that way. You sort of get caught up in things, and well, I did anyway, where I just went there. I didn't really sort of socialise with anyone, or become chummy with anyone from any other states, especially the ones that I didn't know. I sort of went there and got on with the job, and that's all I was there for, and got out of there. So, I'd go to the weigh in, go and eat, go and sit in the hotel room, or go for a walk or do something, fight, get on a plane and go home. That was really the way I sort of rolled anyway. So I didn't really get to know him too well, and as I said, I think he did win the fighter of the tournament. I can't remember who he actually beat, but he must have looked pretty good, obviously, to win that trophy, the Arthur Tunstall Trophy. And I first met him at the start of '98 officially, and we actually went to England. It was Commonwealth Games year '98, and myself, Danny, and who else went with us? I'm pretty sure there was 3 of us. I can't remember who the third one was. Geez, there's only 3 of us went. I can't remember who the third one was. There you go. That's how well I'm going. Might have been, I won't try and guess anyway, but I actually roomed with Danny in England, and we had a really good time. I think Tassie might have said that we roomed at the Commonwealth Games. It wasn't the case. It was actually in Liverpool, the Liverpool Cup it was, and I remember he fought a Hungarian, and to be honest with you, the guy was probably, he was a lot more experienced than Danny, a lot more polished. And you could see that early, and I thought, Danny's in a little bit of trouble here. I think he's a little bit out of his depth at this stage of his career, because you've got to admit, he's probably only had 15 or 20 fights. He's just a novice, as I said. But I think it was the second or third round, and all of a sudden, boom, big right hand from Danny, drops the Hungarian, and all over. And I remember thinking that to start, through the fights, he's got a long way to go. He's very, very raw. But geez, when he landed that right hand, it was like, wow, this guy can really bang and can put them together and just has the ability to win. That's, you get a lot of fighters like that who mightn't be the most polished or talented type of guys, naturally talented, but they just find a way to win one way or the other, and that's what Danny was like. And then, of course, he went to the Commonwealth Games, and he actually beat a guy who I'd sparred with numerous times in Melbourne. He was a young guy, I can't remember his name, he was from Nauru, and Danny fought him and beat him, but broke his hand on his head. And I could understand why, because this guy, like a big Pacific Islander guy from Nauru, and just really short, solid. He was actually shorter than me. I'm a short welterweight. He was fighting at middleweight, and he was really stocky and broad and and as I said, Danny broke his hand on his head, and that was it for him. And that was probably the last time I sort of saw Danny. I've seen him since then, but the last time I sort of interacted with Danny. Actually, that's not true either, because what was it, 2000 and it's one of those days today. In 2013, I think it was 2014, first time I'd seen Danny. I actually I can't remember how and why I did it, but we got him. We were doing a few sports nights at the time. We had a little sort of side business going, and I was getting some celebrities up, and we'd had Costa Zoo, Anthony Mundine, and we got Danny Green over from Perth. And I remember we got him, we picked him up. Well, I didn't pick him up. I got a limo to pick him up, and it was just for, as I said, a sports night in Bendigo, my hometown. And he got to the hotel, and I was there to meet him. And I remember he was so uncomfortable because he was in a limo. It's not just a flash car. It was an actual limo, a stretched limo. And Danny's very much a, meat and potatoes type of guy. He's just a very Aussie, if that makes sense. And he was really, really uncomfortable getting picked up in a limo, but he was great. I remember on the night, he spoke so well. He signed every autograph, took every picture that people put in front of him, and couldn't do enough for all the people in attendance. So that was probably it until 2017. I quickly caught up with him for a beer the night before Pacquiao and Horn in Brisbane. He was commentating the fight, and I got a message from Tony Tolge and Angelo Hyder to come down for a beer and meet Danny, and that was the last time I saw him. So, but yeah, he looks really good for someone who's probably 51, 52 or something like that. So yeah, again, it was good to get a shout out from Danny in his interview, and hope him and his family are doing well. I did actually see that his son, Archie, I think his name is training. So look out, all those 15, 16, 17-year-olds coming around, because I watched a little bit of him on the bag and the pads, and definitely looks a lot like his old man, the way he puts them together. So keep a look out for Archie Green out there. So anyway, so on to some other boxing news. Now just quickly, the last couple of days, I think both days I've mentioned Daniel Dubois. Now the first day, I think it was that he's fighting February 22nd in Saudi Arabia, that Joseph Parker is in the mix, because it looks like Joshua is not going to take the rematch at this stage. So they're talking Joseph Parker. Yesterday, no, we're now talking about Fabio Wardley being the man. And today, it is Zhilei Zhang is now the man in the hot seat. So either one of those fights will be great. It would be fantastic. I can't remember who it was. I read that might have been, was it Frank Warren or whoever the promoter, it must be Frank Warren, yeah, said that they might not look at Wardley at the moment because it's still a little bit raw. They want to build that fight up, which probably makes sense with Dubois. So look, Joseph Parker deserves that shot. It's as simple as that. If Anthony Joshua is not going to take that fight yet, then Joseph Parker 100% deserves to have a crack at Dubois. It's simple as that. Who can forget that he beat Zhang, 12 months ago? Not even 12 months ago. So if it comes down to Zhang or Parker, give it to Joseph Parker. He deserves it. Another fight that I think we all know is taking place is William Zepeda and Tevin Farmer. But the problem, well, no, it's not a problem. It's just an observation I made. Like, they've announced it as the WBC interim lightweight title. Now, Shakur Stevenson has the WBC lightweight title. Why are two fighters fighting for an interim title? I don't understand it. Now, I know there's probably an explanation behind it, but you've got a chance. I know he's been injured, but he's still within the time period of being able to have his mandatory and voluntaries and all that sort of stuff. So why have we got an active champion or a current champion and two guys are fighting for an interim belt of that belt? I don't get it. Now I understand they have interim belts. There's fighters that have been inactive or have been injured, or the unified champion, so they've got to satisfy all the sanctioning bodies, so the bodies have interim belts in the meantime. I get that, but we've got an active and current WBC lightweight champion in Shakur Stevenson. Why is Zapata and Farmer, or why are they fighting for an interim belt? It just doesn't make sense. But what else is new? Speaking of stuff that doesn't make sense, Oscar De La Hoya, he's back for Clapback Thursdays. And if you saw him at the press conference for this weekend's fights, dressed up as the Joker, he does look a little bit creepy, doesn't he? Dressed as the Joker, and the little cackling laugh that he puts together. I thought he was Kamala Harris there for a second, but oh no, that's a bit low, I know. And I did get a few comments about yesterday with the Bob Arum Puerto Rican thing, but anyway, enough of that. But yeah, it was a bit odd. He said in the interview, dressed as the Joker, he said, oh, this has got to be the best Clapback Thursday we've ever done. We can't wait for everyone to see it. Well, I was a little bit let down, if I'm being honest. If you didn't see it, check it out on his Instagram page or YouTube, whatever it is that you watch it on. And the first bit was a good one about the Olympics. I think we've been talking about that for months, about the Olympic situation where it might not be, well, he said it's not currently on the schedule for the 2028 Olympics in his hometown, LA. And now I don't think that's the case. I think there is an asterisk beside it, but I don't think it's been ruled out. And I'm pretty sure there was word that at this stage, it hasn't been included, but it hasn't been ruled out. That's the way I saw it anyway. So I'm not quite sure the current situation, but that's what he went on about, and he made a good point about it as well. But the next part of the Clapback Thursday was about his wife's breasts. I don't know, I didn't really want to tune in to see him talking about, look, it was probably the best done video he's put together as far as production and all the graphics and all that sort of stuff goes, but the content was a little bit lacking. Didn't really get stuck into Eddie Hearn, which is what we're all sort of used to, so that was a little bit disappointing. But he did obviously give Canelo Alvarez his sign off at the end of it, which is probably his signature now, isn't it? He just cannot get Canelo out of his head, and he does it well, but yeah, geez, it was a little bit freaky as far as the makeup goes, but good on him. But just one last thing, guys, I didn't have much to watch last night. I was sort of sitting in front of the TV and I thought, oh, what have we got? And I sort of scrolled through and The Fighter came up. So I watched The Fighter. Now the reason I watched The Fighter, and the reason I'm talking about it now, is that I did a top 10 list earlier in the year, top 10 best boxing movies of all time and the 10 worst of all time. And I had The Fighter on there as one of the worst, and I copped a lot of feedback about it. How dare you say The Fighter is one of the worst? You don't know what you're talking about, and blah, 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 blah. And I thought, well, it's come up. Maybe this is destiny. Maybe this is, you know, it's supposed to be. So I thought I'm going to watch the Fighter and give it another chance. And I've got to say, guys, I'm sorry. I don't change my opinion of the movie. Now, I will give a bit of a, come this way, buddy. Well, I'll just let him walk over there. We've got some new lawn happening here, and he's decided to walk straight across it. We'll get across it really quick, or else I'll have the owner out here, and we might have my own challenge ahead. But yeah, I did get a lot of feedback about it. But yeah, that's what I was saying. The reason I don't rate it and why I don't rate a lot of boxing movies is because of the fight scenes. Now, a lot of the storylines are quite good, and if that's what people look for, then that's great. I suppose I judge. Look, obviously it's not going to be realistic, but you want some sort of level of believability in the guys that are putting together. And I love Marky Mark. He's one of my favourite. This Mark Wahlberg, one of my favourite actors, but just horrific boxing skills and just does not pull off being anywhere near a boxer. And I did do the fight choreography quite well. I did look at the couple of the actual fights themselves after I watched the movie just to see how realistic it was, and they actually put them together really well. The problem is that Mark Wahlberg, unfortunately, as much as I like him as an actor, just doesn't pull it off as a fighter. A bit like Jake, Jesus, bloody dog there. Come on, man, let's go. Jesus, scared the shit out of me. But a bit like Jake Gyllenhaal in Southpaw. That was horrific. That's probably the worst I think I've ever seen, as far as someone just having absolutely no talent trying to pull off being a world-class boxer. So anyway, what I'll do actually, just quickly before I go, just in case you wanted to know my selections. I did take a screenshot of my YouTube video, which is on here, so check it out. All right, so the 10 best movies, I'll go down from number 10. Number 10, I'll go through these quickly, not as detailed as I did in the video, but number 10, I had Requiem for a Heavyweight. Number 9, I had Bleed for This. Number 8, I had The Champ. Number 7, I had The Hurricane, Denzel Washington. Number 6, Ali with Will Smith. 5, Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe. 4, $1 Million Baby, Clint Eastwood's movie, of course. Number 3, The Great White Hype. You've got to watch The Great White Hype. It's a comedy. Samuel L. Jackson, Jeff Goldblum. It is a brilliant movie. So that's a Great White Hype. Number 2, I had Raging Bull. And number 1, I put the Rocky series together, because if I didn't, probably the first 5 movies would be Rocky movies, and it would eliminate all the others. That was the, and out of those Rocky series, by the way, Rocky 3 is my favourite. Rocky 2 is my next favourite. Rocky 1, then Rocky Balboa, then Rocky 4. And we won't count Rocky 5. I counted them all there, didn't I? Yeah, so that's the 10 best. The 10 worst. Number 10, Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage. Number 9, Rocky Marciano, horrific movie. What's his name? It was in that, he's a director now. Anyway, number 8, Big George Foreman. Good movie, but way too rushed. They crammed too much into it too quick and just skimmed over it. 7, Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran story, very average. 6, Grudge Match, Robert De Niro, Sylvester Stallone, just bad. 5, the Creed series, which didn't go down too well. I just think Michael B. Jordan. I did say Jake Gyllenhaal is probably the worst I've seen being able to pull off being a boxer. Well, it's got to be Michael B. Jordan. Absolutely horrific with his skills, quote unquote. Good storylines, but I just can't rate it because of how bad he looks as a boxer. Number 4, Southpaw, Jake Gyllenhaal. Just a shockingly bad choreographed movie. Number 3, Play It to the Bone, Woody Harrelson and Antonio Banderas. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Not a great movie. Number 2 is The Fighter. I'm sure I'll get feedback about that. And the worst boxing movie of all time, Honey Boy with Eric Estrada. Check it out if you haven't seen it. That's Honey Boy, the guy from Chips. He tried his best. Not a bad storyline, but I used to love it as a kid watching it, but then I watched it recently, or before I made that video, and not great. Not great at all. So let me know what you think are the best movies and the worst boxing movies of all time. So we can discuss it another time. But guys, that is it for today. Hope you have a great day. I am with this beautiful surroundings behind me, and looking forward to a nice relaxing weekend. So guys, we will catch you tomorrow.